Welcome back, YouTube. How's it going? Here at it again with the second part of A Fairy Tale of the Sun. This part overwhelmingly won in the poll, which strangely had more votes than my last two stories had views. Whatever AI YouTube is using for this new algorithm or whatever they're doing is really hurting my channel. So please, if you like this story, like and leave a comment. Not only is feedback important, but it also helps my channel become more visible. I'm not even really sure how many of you are seeing this right now. Regardless, let's get to it. Sit back, relax, click the link if you want to follow along, and let's get started with What If Ruby Silver Eyes summoned Naruto. Cleaning up the last of the creatures called Grimm was not a difficult task. They were easy to locate. They were beacons of negativity, and thanks to his sensory from Kurama, he could scour each location of them. And he met every single Grimm. It didn't matter where it was, he could find it. However, there was one in particular shrouded in darkness in the distance that had his interest. He would have investigated it if it wasn't for being busy helping the city out, or he had his own issues to deal with. Because these creatures were intriguing, beings of raw, negative emotion? What was their origin? Where did they come from? And why did they turn to dust when he killed them, no matter how he killed them? My planetary Rasengan was overkill if that wyvern was going to disperse, no matter what I did to it. Naruto flicked a kunai through a wolf before running his hair through his spiky locks. I wonder if that girl's okay. She suddenly passed out when I focused my attention on her. When I was looking for clues as to why I'm here. Reminds me of what happened to Hinata all those times when she tried talking to me early before she gained some confidence. Hearing more growls, having sensed they were there, Naruto rolled his eyes while drawing forth another kunai to face them. Y'all just keep coming, don't ya? It's got some strength in numbers. Time to take out the... With a single motion, the wolves were severed in half as a man with a great scythe stood between them. Back turned towards him, scythe on his shoulder. Almost as if he were stylishly posing. It was a good entrance, though. Even if he saw the complete entrance and let the man have it, it was impressive. Naruto gave it a 4 out of 5. Standing between the corpses of the creatures, that was a nice touch. And sheathing his weapon was a nice add-on. Did his weapon transform into a great sword as he sheathed it? 5 out of 5. He wanted that sword. Trash. Huh. Neat. Naruto finished his sentence calmly, not allowing his giddiness of seeing such a magnificent weapon to tarnish this meeting. Didn't want to let the leash off of the little kid inside him and gush over the sword. He would admire it later, as he wasn't nearly as much of a weapons nerd as Tenten was. Although they did bond over it when they were students at the academy. He just preferred flashy jutsu more. Hey, kid, the man's gruff voice snapped Naruto out of his thoughts, and his wandering eyes away from his sword. The crimson eyes peered into his. Appreciate what you're doing here, but I've noticed something. And I've got some questions for you if you don't mind me asking. Nah, don't really mind all that much. I'm gathering intel while I'm clearing out all these bizarre creatures, Naruto shrugged, glancing around with a frown at the damage, but sensing his clones and the other huntsmen, as they were called here, were handling the remaining Grimm and had rounded up the White Fang. Bizarre, the man muttered, expressing bewilderment upon hearing and seeing this young man destroy the Grimm with unnerving ease, yet not knowing what they were. Naruto could see that it perplexed him, and with a grin, he slipped his kunai into his pouch before placing a hand on his hip. Yeah, don't mind answering some questions if you got some answers for me. A fair exchange, as I'm quite confused on many things, as you can see. I was training to blow off some steam in the forest near my home. Next thing I know, I was suddenly enveloped in the silver light and transported here, having to save everyone. So, what the hell's going on? You. Why is it you? Burn! Burn! Why has everything gone so wrong? This wasn't supposed to be how this was supposed to end. I was supposed to be the one. Me, not you. I will never forgive you. I'll scorch you and make you suffer along with me. You do not deserve this power. Everything was so hot. She felt like she was on fire and she was burning alive. No, her skin felt like it was on fire. Nothing she could do could get rid of the feeling. And why was that woman before her vision once more? Didn't he say she would no longer be an issue? Ruby! A worried voice echoed out, calling her name. Are you okay? Your bed has been rocked. Ruby! Weiss immediately pulled herself up to Ruby's bedside. Her crystal eyes widened with fear upon the sight. Her friend was wildly thrashing about, sweat drenching and soaking her bedsheets. She had brought her back after she had passed out at the evacuation site, most likely from exhaustion or from whatever had happened. With the words given by the professors, they were allowed to return to their dormitories, so she brought Ruby to rest while Blake went with Yang to the hospital. She could only hope that her friend didn't try to abandon them again, but that hardly was on her mind at this very moment. Ruby! Weiss reached out, trying to snap her friend out of what she thought was a traumatic nightmare or a night terror, only to recoil and draw her hand back, stumbling away from her, falling onto Blake's bunk when she grazed Ruby's shoulder. Her hand burned when she made contact with Ruby. It was as if she were. Ruby! Weiss heard Ruby scream in agony, snapping her out of her shock from staring at her hand, her attention drawn back to her friend. Let me go get help! Fumbling around her scroll, panic settling in as her friend's cries filled the room. Weiss didn't know what to do, who to call. She was at a loss. Ruby! The door to their dormitory bust open, Weiss dropping her scroll as Pyrrha nearly snapped the door in two as she entered the room, sword and shield drawn. Emerald eyes shimmered as they fell upon Ruby, seeing an all too familiar aura envelop her as her screams cried out and echoed through the room, levitating her off the bed. And Weiss was too stunned next to her besides to notice this due to her arrival. Pyrrha did not hesitate, dragging Weiss to the ground, cradling her into her side as she held her shield above them. Pyrrha, what are you? Flames erupted, coursing through the room. Weiss's eyes flickered in horror as fire burned all around them, the shield doing just enough to cover them from its wrath. But where did it come from? Ruby! Weiss screamed, a cold shiver traveling down her spine as her friend was caught in the flames, dying around them. No, Ruby! I don't know what's happening, Pyrrha gritted as she flicked her shield. Feeling the intensity dissipate and grimace at the state of the room before she sighed in relief upon seeing sprinklers activate and put out the flames. Her friend laid uncomfortably, breathing heavily as the strange aura around her calmed. With Weiss noticing it too, her eyes fell upon Pyrrha, looking for an explanation, as Rin, Nora, and John all rushed into the room. Checking upon Ruby, frowning and seeing the same glow around her eyes, Pyrrha bit back a curse. It is what I feared. I don't know how it happened, but I need to find Professor Glinda immediately. Naruto couldn't imagine the marvel he was now standing before. He had seen some pretty cool stuff before, but this was something beyond all of them. He knew something was up when he saw those mechanical men torn apart and deactivated all across the streets. But this was an airship. Something like this was only dreamed or pitched in movies or by the drunken bridge builder Tazuna, who stated he would craft the first ever one. All to prove it was possible to him and Inari when he last visited him. So where was he? His technology and everything he had seen around him were impossible where he was from. Indeed, Konoha was experiencing a surge of industrial growth driven by technology and was beginning to advance at an alarming pace, but it was nowhere near as state-of-the-art as this. This was futuristic by all measures of the word. Where am I? Left Naruto's lips, his composure finally breaking, and pointing at the airship. That should not be possible. Those things are just a theory. What is going on here? Huh? Crow stumbled, crimson eyes shimmering in bafflement at what he had just heard. Kid, what are you talking about? This is... Hey, calm down. Okay, where is that silver-eyed girl? Naruto ranted, turning around with a purpose and freezing Crow, allowing the world to flow through him, still mastering this form now that he had full access to its power again. He felt the entire world around him, searching for her presence. He could use Kurama's cloak to sense her, but if he kept relying on the fox, it would wake him up. And despite the situation, he wanted Kurama to rest after being taken to the brink. He deserved it, but if this called for it, he might need to converse and plan with him. Really, I don't know how her powers work. When I find her, I'm gonna figure out how to reverse engineer this process to get back home. Naruto muttered, searching for her presence and scowling. There, time to... What do you want with Ruby? Huh? What do you... Naruto gaze reverted to Crow, a scowl gracing the man's lips as that awesome greatsword of his was directly pointed at him. It by no means was a threat to him, but that deathly serious glint as he aimed it towards him made him understand, and that stance told him everything he needed to know. She was someone he was willing to die for to protect. She was someone precious to him. So, Naruto knew he needed to de-escalate matters and explain. Didn't want to ruin any relationships. Crow! A door on the ship suddenly opened, and Naruto and Crow's eyes shot to a tall woman as she exited the airship in a panic rush. What is it? Never mind, we have an emergency. Kind of dealing with one right now. It's Ruby. The woman's shrill voice caused the man's grip on his sword to weaken and his gaze to falter. Pyrrha just called me. I cannot believe it. I don't understand it, but it's her. It's her. Dropping his sword aimed at Naruto, Crow quickly stepped towards the woman, trying to calm her, even if his voice betrayed him. Glinda, what do you mean it's her? What is... Ruby was the last one she thought of. Glinda's voice chilled Crow to the bone. She's the inheritor, Crow. She's become the Fall Maiden. Crow nearly vomited. The moment he saw the kid was coming regardless, recognizing something was wrong with Ruby, he knew he couldn't stop him. Crow didn't understand why he was so fixated on her, but one thing he could gauge was that he did believe that he didn't want to cause her harm. The kid was too open, too honest, wore his heart on his sleeve. Perhaps he could be guarded and hide secrets, sure, but he was still an open book. But from now on, he would never, ever again ask for his assistance. If they were to travel together to go somewhere, he would go on his own 2 damn feet. What did he do? In an instant, they traveled from Vale to the dormitories. Didn't seem Glinda was faring any better than he was, as she swayed beside him, looking shaken and barely able to register where they were at the moment. He was scarcely able to notice that the kid had reverted from that golden state he had seen him in while protecting Vale from the attack. What was this kid? Who was this kid? How did he... Oh, right, Crow heard him muttered and narrowed his eyes. He was barely able to keep his stomach from lurching and swallowed hard to keep the bile from escaping. Not everyone can handle moving at such velocity. The body and mind are trying to adjust at moving at such speeds. I guess the best thing that I would say, it sort of reminds me of the first few times Jiraiya-sensei had me go through the body flicker. Kid. Shut up, Crow growled, standing tall before taking a deep breath and glaring at the blonde. I have so many more questions. You do realize that. Good, because I have even more for you to answer, Naruto chirped, closing his eyes and giving a patent eye smile from his senseis that he learned from his sensei before tilting his head. I think we both realize I have no idea of anything going on and I'm just acting on pure instinct. Then his eyes opened and Crow went rigid. His crimson gaze was swallowed by a serious intent within the swelling oceans of the kid's ceruleans. But if something is endangering her, Let's just say I'm not going to take too kindly to them until I figure out precisely what's happening here. Exiting her dorm, Pyrrha let out a deep exhale as she walked into the burned wreckage of Ruby's dorm room. Ruby was lying in the bed with Weiss, Nora, and Ren watching over her back in their room. Gave her a moment to leave, come over here and catch her bearings. Bringing her face into the palm of her hands, she took a deep breath to calm herself. Pyrrha wanted to share what was bothering her with everyone else. What she really felt, she honestly did. John unfortunately found out when he was following her and was dragged into this mess. Nearly killed him. It was why she sent him away. No, Pyrrha was lying to herself. She knew deep down that despite everything she felt, she sent him away so she could fight to her fullest. Her feelings for him made her weak. And if he was there, she couldn't bring out everything she had. That she would have to worry about him, care for him. Another sigh escaped as she closed her eyes and hung her head shamefully. It was cruel to think he was doing so well. He had progressed so much in such a short time. He was a great leader and tactician. He had many great qualities. But in that very moment, when it mattered most, Pyrrha felt that he held her back. And she hated that she felt this way. He didn't deserve this ridicule. He only deserved admiration for his courage and rapid growth. He had, after all, was the only person who didn't see her like everyone else. He saw her as just a girl. John didn't see her as the invincible girl. Not that she was very invincible anymore. Not after what she experienced and witnessed. She was far from invincible if someone like that could beat her. Or someone like him could save her and everyone else from that woman and all the Grimm. Just who was he? Pyrrha? She winced. She knew whose voice that was. John followed her. And with her recent train of thoughts, guilt racked her. She couldn't even look at him, not after what she did to him. You don't have to explain what you did. John stepped into the room and towards her, the door clicking behind him. Examining the room, he flinched, and Pyrrha couldn't blame him. She believed he was coming to understand what Ruby had inherited. Hanging his head, letting that thought fade, shame spread across his. The past few hours have been on my mind on loop. I can't blame you after seeing what that woman could do. I would have only been a hindrance, and we both know it. I just wish I could have been more helpful, you know? We've worked so hard this year, and despite that, this happened? And in the end, John, it's not your fault. Pyrrha bit back a sob, her emerald eyes shimmering as she tried to hold back her tears before she finally turned to face him. There was nothing that could have been done. It didn't matter what happened, because in the end, I failed as well. I should have died. If it wasn't... What are you guys not telling me? The door slammed open, and Weiss snarled as her cold, icy blue eyes stared at the two of them. Seeing them both flinch, her fists clenched, clearing the dormitory, heels clicking, she stood before Pyrrha and gazed up into her emerald eyes with furious intent. Don't you dare withhold information from me! My friend just set our dorm on fire. What is wrong with her? What is happening here? What happened on the tower? Her words were cut short as the door did not close. Her eyes widened as a mystical aura began to repair and rift all the burn damage. Objects that seemed burned beyond recognition were returned to mint condition. All the water damage from the sprinklers gone. Professor! Pyrrha gave a stunned expression as her eyes locked into Glinda's, standing into the middle of the doorway, with her riding crop sliding into their waist belt. I thought you were in... I was. Got an instantaneous ride over here. Glinda glided into the room, taking control of the situation as she locked onto Weiss. Miss Schnee, now is not the time. Pressing Mr. Ark and Miss Nikos for answers under such circumstances is unbecoming. I don't care. Weiss's voice was frigid as she snapped, unwilling to step back and having picked this battle. My friend set my room on fire. What is wrong with her? Stop pretending I don't know that I don't see something that isn't normal. There was something strange about this. A strange aura around her that wasn't hers. What was that? Tell me exactly how the room was set on fire. A voice that froze Pyrrha to the spot, as she had been thinking of him as well before everyone entered the room. And as all eyes were brought to the doorway, a spiky-haired blonde was leaning against the door with an inquisitive expression. Or I might have an answer. But that will leave me with more questions than answers if you said what happened is true. Why was she still here? She shouldn't still be here. Not after what had happened. He knew she was still here. Blake needed to escape before he came back for her. With so many of her White Fang brothers and sisters in custody, she knew he wouldn't be too far away. Adam would be back, and he would come for her. A shuddering breath drew sparkling golden eyes to a limp form into the room, to the other figure lying in the hospital bed, restlessly shifting. Her blonde hair was matted against her face as sweat drenched the bedding, a groan escaping her lips. She must have been in tremendous pain, and Blake knew it. The bow on her head curled as her golden gaze fell on the right arm, or where Yang's right arm should have been. This was all her fault. She would still have had it if she weren't here, if she had left sooner, if she hadn't involved herself in their lives, brought them into it. Yang, her name left Blake's lips before she bit her lip. Tears glinting before another gasp escaped her partner's lips, and her eyes fluttered open. Blake froze, words unable to come to her as lilac eyes scanned the room until they fell upon her. Fear filled every fiber of her being. What would she say? What could she say? Would Yang hate her? Tell her that she never wanted to see her again? Would she blame her? Hey, a gentle whisper. Yang snapped Blake out of her depression and into her glinting lilac eyes. How are you doing? I don't feel that great. Don't even remember what happened. All I remembered was that guy standing over you. You were bleeding. Leaping across the bedding, Blake couldn't contain her sorrowful howls, and she felt how stiff and rigid she had become, and as she buried her head into Yang's shoulder. But it only made her tighten her embrace onto her. Blake didn't want to let her go. This was her fault. I'm so sorry. Blake bawled, her tears staining Yang's shoulder, knowing that she was looking up at her with confusion. I'm sorry. Okay, Yang stuttered, struggling to comprehend Blake's reaction before she felt her arms wrap around her, tempting to comfort her by calming her. Then she felt Blake felt Yang's muscle tense and then shudder. She winced knowing what it was she saw. It was inevitable. Blake buried herself further into the nape of Yang's neck as the audible, devastating shriek and realization dawned on her friend, where the pain radiated from. I'm so sorry. This is my fault. This wasn't her room. This was Juniper's dorm. Why was she here? Wasn't she outside? That was the last thing she remembered. She also remembered the overwhelming guilt of somehow bringing the legendary hero of the greatest legend her mother ever told her to this world. And then that horrible dream with that woman tormenting and igniting her on fire repeatedly. Ruby's stomach lurched. She couldn't contain it. Quickly fumbling across the bed she knew wasn't hers, the contents of her stomach spilled onto the floor. She wished she could have made it to the bathroom, but it wasn't a possibility. Ah, gross! Sorry, Nora, Ruby muttered, knowing her friend was there, and grimaced. I feel so nauseous. I'll clean it up. No, don't worry about it. Not after what happened, Nora chirped, a broad smile on her face before a mysterious biohazard outfit was suddenly donned with a mop and bucket in hand. I'm on the case. Where did that even come from? Ren questioned, tilting his head at his odd partner. Don't you want to know? Nora beamed and began to clean up, singing a tune to her own beat. Tell you what I want, what I really, really want. Okay then, Ruby murmured, managing to push herself up to a seated position on the bed that she was in, unable to process the scene before her. Why am I here? The last thing I remember... Hey, kiddo. A voice that she immediately recognized snapped her out of her thoughts, and she looked for where it came from. Uncle Crow? Why are you here? She loudly cried, attempting to leap off the bed and hug the man before clutching her stomach. Oh, no. Don't you do that again, no. Keeping an eye on you after everything that just happened, little Rose, Crow nonchalantly responded. His arms crossed as he kept a firm eye on Ruby. A deep frown adored on his features. Got some explaining to do, I'm afraid. And your friends deserve to hear it after seeing what happened. Hearing her uncle's words, Ruby's expression turned dejected. Looking down and away, she grimaced as she accepted that everyone already knew she was the reason he was here. I don't know, Ruby bit her lip, and her eyes glimmered. When we were on the tower, I felt something snap within me when I felt all was lost. I was so hopeless, weak. A failure that couldn't ever live up to what Mom was. At that moment, when I was at my lowest, I managed to find something inside of me to make a move. Pyrrha said she saw silver glow coming from me. Crow's eyes widened. What was Ruby emitting? The silver eyes activated? If they had already awoken, now was this development. Oh, if that woman found her. What? Ruby, that's not... Crow tried to intervene, but was interrupted by Ruby as their gazes met. And suddenly he appeared before us, wrapped in a glow of that light that came from me. Came from my eyes. Ruby's eyes shimmered. I still don't understand. But I know what I did. Moments before, I was thinking of the tale my mom used to read to Yang and me before bed. And I regained my courage. And with it, I don't know how, but I summoned the hero from the story, the Brothers of the Sun and the Moon. Everything had fallen apart for that woman. Under any normal circumstances, she would be utterly thrilled. And at this moment, she couldn't care less. After all this time of being held under her boot, even if she may have enjoyed some of the sadistic things she was allowed to do, she was free once again. But where was he? This was their meeting spot. She had been here so long. Everyone else had been rounded up, but he was always too good to get captured unless it was the plan. He always escaped. Always. But it had been far too long, and she was so alone. Roman, where are you? I know the wind carried me away, but I waited for you here the moment I saw everything was turning, so we can make our move. Start anew like we did on that day. Three-toned hair fluttered with the windy breeze, heterochromatic eyes gazing up upon the remnants of a torn-down building, a burned mansion, her old home, the vanilla state. With that breeze, her eyes caught something drifting onto the rubble, something she hadn't noticed before. Her eyes glistened, tears began to well. No. She slowly took several steps towards it. It couldn't be. It wasn't possible. He always escaped. And even when he didn't, a plan was set for his rescue. No. 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 Tears welled in her eyes, falling down her cheeks. This wasn't happening. This wasn't him. This broke his code. Above all else, that was his #1 motto. Survive! No. Falling onto her knees, she reached out to collect the object caught in the rubble of her parents' home. It was the one thing Roman would never leave behind. The bowler hat she had made for him. Caressing it into her bosom, tears streamed freely down her cheeks. She knew. The man who had saved her from her misery was gone. Lifting her head to the skies above, a muted scream echoed, warping and shattering the heavens like they were glass, and the world bent around her. And still, not a soul heard her agony. And that is the end of the second part of this story. I do hope you enjoyed. If you made it this far, you obviously like this type of content, and you also might appreciate the 2 videos on the screen. But before you go, if you could take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to help out the channel, I would really appreciate it. Especially with all the views going down mysteriously. Until next time, my friends, take care, stay safe, peace.